Hey guys, this is God of Politics. Welcome back to a brand new video. In this video, I'm going to be predicting the Senate elections with either Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders as the Democratic nominee. Now, obviously, at this point, we've seen all the other major candidates drop out except for Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden, and that means that one of them is going to have to take on a lot of down ballot races. People have been saying that Bernie Sanders doesn't have the long coattails. He can't get the down ballot races to go his way. And even if he is able to win the presidency, he won't be able to win the Senate and could even possibly lose the House. So I'm going to be predicting how that will go. Will there be any differences in terms of how the results turn out, whether Joe Biden is the nominee for the Democrats in the Senate elections or Bernie Sanders is the nominee for the Democrats in the Senate elections? So we'll start by doing the safe states for Joe Biden. As always, we'll just go through these really quickly. Montana I won't put as safe yet. Alaska safe, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. Actually, we won't put that as safe just yet. Tennessee, West Virginia, Oklahoma, and that is going to be all the safe states. And for Joe Biden, the safe states would be Oregon, Illinois, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware, as well as that. I think that's going to be it. So that's 41 safe seats for Joe Biden, 41 for Joe Biden and the Republicans, for Donald Trump and the Republicans, and then for the safe states on the Bernie Sanders side, I think Montana safe, Idaho safe, Wyoming safe, Alaska safe, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. This Georgia seat, not the special, but this Georgia seat, South Carolina, Tennessee, as well as West Virginia and Kentucky, as well. And yeah, that's going to be it. And for the Democrats, they'd get Illinois, Oregon, actually, as well as Joe Biden would win Virginia safe. And on the Democratic side for Bernie Sanders, he'd win Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Jersey, and Delaware. We'll put that as safe as well. So those are the safe sides that'll be going to either side. And also another one for Joe Biden. I think that New Mexico would be safe for him. So for the Democrats, 43 safe seats if Joe Biden was the nominee, 41 for the Republicans, and with Bernie Sanders, 41 if he was the nominee, and 48 for the Republicans. So now we'll do the likely, lean, and tilt states. We'll just do the entire prediction here for Joe Biden. I think Montana would go likely just because there's a chance Steve Bullock could run. Kansas would also go likely because there's a chance Chris Kobach is the nominee. Iowa will go, Kentucky will go likely, Alabama will go likely, Georgia will go likely, South Carolina will also go likely. A lot of these states I could have put by safe margins, but I'm putting them by likely margins, as well as the state of Texas, because Joe Biden would just be able to get a bit more, not too much more, but a bit more enthusiasm against some of the moderate Republicans and independents for these Senate races. And for Joe Biden, he'd win Minnesota likely. He would win New Hampshire likely, and that is going to be it. So that's 45 and 48. Now we'll do some more. Iowa, I think, will be lean with Joni Ernst even. The special election in Georgia will be lean, and I think it's going to be it. And then for Joe Biden, I think Colorado will be a flip for the Democrats, lean. As I said before, Alabama will be a likely flip for the Republicans, as well as Michigan will go lean. I think Joe Biden, despite the fact that he may not win the state in the presidential election, will easily win it in the Senate election, and that's going to be it. So that's already Republicans are at 50, Joe Biden at 47. I think that Arizona would tilt towards the Democrats. Martha McSally is not really popular here. She already lost. I don't know why she's here in the first place. So I think she'd lose because of that and a number of other reasons. Joe Biden has more appeal to those places, things like that. As well as I think Maine would be a tilt state. This is going to be a very close election. A lot of the polls have showed Sarah Gideon making it very close against Susan Collins. Whether that still holds is another question, but I think it'll be a very close margin. Same thing with North Carolina. I think it'll be closer if Joe Biden's nominating than people think, just because of the fact Tom Tillis is very unpopular. The voters who may have voted for Obama back in 2008 might go vote for Joe Biden again. And that puts the total map at 52 Republicans, 48 Democrats with a net gain of 1 for the Republicans. Now going over to the Bernie Sanders map. We'll fill up some more here. I think Iowa would be likely, despite the fact that Joni Ernst is unpopular. She would still win it by a likely margin pretty easily. The special election in Georgia would be by a likely margin no matter how good a candidate the Republicans put up. North Carolina would also be likely, just due to the fact that you have Trump, who will probably win the state by more than 5 points what he won it last time in the 2020 election if Bernie Sanders is nominee. And I think that even with Tom Tillis being unpopular, you might see a similar story. And for Bernie Sanders, I think New Mexico would be likely, and that we'll also put New Hampshire as likely just because the Republicans don't really have a good nominee for New Hampshire, and New Mexico it is a blue state. I just don't think Bernie would do as well here, even though he'd get the Latino vote. And for the lean states, I think that Arizona would be lean. This is just not Bernie territory, despite the fact that now he has a Latino vote that he might not have had before. He will still lose the state, as well as Maine will go by a lean margin, despite the fact that it's in the Northeast. Susan Collins will be able to establish herself as a moderate Republican amongst the radical left wing if Bernie is the nominee. And Virginia would be a lean margin. The establishment doesn't really like Bernie, but they do like Mark Warner, so there would be some voters that would have voted for Mark Warner if Joe Biden was the nominee, who will now flip over to the Republican side, but I still think that Mark Warner, who is pretty popular, was to be able to win. Then going over here to Colorado, we'll go into these tilt states now. I think Colorado would be a tilt margin. This is going to be a very interesting state because Cory Gardner looks set to lose, but if Bernie Sanders is the nominee, it could actually make this a competitive race again, and that's going to be very important to watch out for. Obviously, I don't think the Republicans have much of a chance at it, similar to how the Democrats don't have much of a chance in Alabama. Obviously, Alabama's going to be a lot worse than Colorado, but especially with Bernie as the nominee, despite the fact that Colorado is Bernie country, can't really attract the independents, can't really attract the moderate Republicans, and it would go by a tilt margin, but it would go to the Democrats regardless. Minnesota, I'm going to put at a tilt margin towards Bernie Sanders. Tina Smith won the seat by 10 points in 2018 in a special election too. And that obviously was a wave year for the Democrats, but I don't think that Bernie is going to lose this seat per se. But I think that the Republicans will make it very close due to the fact that Bernie did not win here in the primary. He showed he didn't have the support. Medicare for All wasn't as popular here as it was in some other places, and that's going to hurt him in the Senate election, the down ballot races like we talked about. But I do think that it will still go by a tilt margin, although I do think that Michigan would be a flip. I think that John James will be able to flip this seat if Bernie Sanders is nominee, because Bernie Sanders, if he's nominee, I do think that he'd lose Michigan by a pretty substantial margin, maybe up to 3 points. And this could cause the Senate election to flip as well due to the fact that the current senator they have voted for impeachment. Gary Peters voted to remove Donald Trump from office. I don't think you're going to see many people who vote for Trump and then vote for Gary Peters. And I just think that if it's that large of a margin in terms of the presidential race, you'd see that the Senate election would flip as well, putting the total at 54 Republican seats and 46 Democratic seats. Comparing that with the Joe Biden election, we see there's a lot more close races for the Democrats. There's a lot more opportunities for the Democrats to pick up. They can pick up Maine. They can pick up North Carolina. They could even get Georgia, Iowa close, maybe Kansas close to Chris Kobach's nominee. But in terms of this, you don't really see much opportunity for the Democrats. Arizona's within striking distance, but not really. Neither is Maine. And you see that if Bernie Sanders is nominee, it is going to hurt the down ballot races. Bernie Sanders is going to only win 46 seats. And another thing you'll see is if Bernie Sanders was elected president, Vermont would get a Republican senator due to the fact that they have a Republican governor, unless he goes full rhino fashion and picks a Democratic senator. But that would be a different story. And with Joe Biden, he will do better in down ballot races. He'll do better in states like Michigan and Arizona and Minnesota. Virginia, he'll win by a safe margin. New Mexico, he will do better across the board compared to Bernie Sanders. Just looking at the map here, you see there's a lot more red in the map with Bernie Sanders, a lot more darker red than there is with Joe Biden. And despite the fact that neither of these candidates are too likely to win the race, I think it's still a toss-up race, obviously, in terms of the presidential race. But I think that Donald Trump is more likely than not to win the presidential race. And in the terms of the Senate election, in either way, the Republicans are going to retain the Senate. I think that's important to look at. But yeah, thank you all for watching this video. Please like and subscribe as always, and I will see you guys later.